Hey there, my name is Jason Bradley. You may recognize my voice from such places as the Community Solutions Podcast, which, by the way, you're listening to now. Before we begin, can I bend your ear for just a moment? We want to bring you the very best in quality and information each week. You can help us achieve that level of greatness. If you sell something, want to announce something, or try to convince others to vote for you, consider advertising on the Community Solutions Podcast. You can email us at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com, and we'd love to help you tell everyone about what you do. Once again, that's commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. Let us be your solution to increased sales. We thank you ahead of time for your consideration. Okay, enough yammering. On with the show. From the land of sky blue waters, it's the Community Solutions Podcast. We're back with another episode, and as always, I am Jason Bradley, and over with me here is Mr. Andrew Richter.
Jay, how's it going again? Another sunny day in our world.
Well, it has to be in somebody's world, because outside it looks terrible. I tell you, all this rain, it's rained for what, about
40 days and 40 nights.
About there, and they're still talking about putting in a drought warning here in Minnesota.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so
the temperature's rising again, or something.
It is something like that. Anyways, we're going to talk about something useful today, and this is something that almost no matter what city you live in, it is happening, and you're being charged for it. You may or may not even know it because it doesn't show up on your tax statements. They are franchise fees. Now, there's a couple of different franchise fees, cable or utilities. We're going to get into some of all of that today. Andrew, you want to give us a little background on the whole franchise fee thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll give you the short version of what a franchise fee is, how they came about. They came about as a way to open up a new source of revenue for the government, for local government.
Yeah.
I mean, that really is the point of this, is to, there's a lot of things that are not covered by property taxes. Churches are one, schools are another, obviously parks, which are owned by the city or maybe the county or park district or wherever. And naturally, they're not paying taxes. And in a lot of cities, this takes up 10, 15, 20% of their land.
Right.
I mean, I'm talking everything you could think of that does not pay taxes. You know, a church, for example, doesn't pay property taxes. They are exempt from that. Obviously, a school does not pay property taxes. So the theory behind it is that everything is benefiting somehow from city services. But yet, not all of us are, quote unquote, paying for that. Now, I have some issues with how that's framed.
Right.
But, and we'll get into that. But, so a franchise fee is basically a tax on a utility, or on something like Comcast, I don't know what you call that. It's not a utility, but it kind of is, I guess.
Cable company.
Yeah, utility is, it's not a need like electricity, but it's, most people have it.
Right.
In order to capture tax money from something that otherwise you may not capture tax money from.
Right. In fact, as I understand it, it is the ability of the city to rent land in the right of way to utility companies and cable companies to put their equipment.
That's the technical way that they would write it in a code or in a legal form. In the real world, nobody knows what a right of way means, so it's kind of like, just think of it as a tax on your bill.
Yeah.
And that's probably the best way we can explain it. If you open up a cable bill, and look, you may not have one depending on where you live, but you look on your bills, and it seems like those bills always go up. They never go down. You can use less, and you still seem to pay the same amount. Look down at the bottom and see the taxes and franchise fees and surcharges and things like that, and that's what we're talking about here.
Right, and the state gets their hand in there, the county gets their hand in there, and now, because of franchise fees, the city gets their hands in there as well.
And the counties do, especially on your garbage and recycling bill, there's a I know from my business, there's a tax on that. Now, it's less in Anoka County, where I am.
Right.
But I know Hennepin County has a sizable recycling tax. They want you to recycle, but they make it more expensive for you to do so. So
right.
It's pretty counterproductive. Now, they just to go in the history of it, there was only a handful of cities that had this a while back. Where it really exploded was back about 10 years ago in Governor Palente's second term. There was a compromise omnibus bill that put levy limits on cities, a limit that they could raise. And the intent of it was to not have a tax cut at the state level and have the locals just raise them right back up. There was a theory behind it. And it was a compromise reached with the DFL. They all agreed to this. So I'm not blaming either party or crediting either party. It was just how a compromise, I think it was back in 2007 for the 07-09 biennium. So they're gone now. And there were some levy limits during Governor Dayton's first term that I think expired in 2015. But basically, and philosophically, I don't agree with levy limits because I think that it takes away local control. I think it makes it locals always have the excuse to blame somebody else. And,
right.
And it's just, it's backwards of how we should be doing something.
Absolutely. And I think, if a city like Maple Grove wants to charge, if they want to raise their levy, $1 million, and then you get a place like Falcon Heights that maybe wants, and there's all conjecture here, that wants to raise their levy limit, $10 million. Well, that gives people the ability to say, I don't want to live in Falcon Heights, I'm going to move to Maple Grove.
Or it gives them the ability to run for office and make those, you gather the people together and say, here's what's going on. We need to make this change.
Right. And when you put levy limits in, it just kind of...
It takes away the debate. It takes away the... I'd like the chance to vote on those things locally. Does your city want a community center? Yes or no? Do you want to pay for it? Well, if there's a levy limit in place, that debate is gone then.
Right.
Because the levy limit applied to some bonding as well, not just the general levy, which is what everybody looks at.
Right.
But there's things to look at on top of that. Does your city want a golf course or not? Yes or no? If your city chooses to do that, I want cities to make that choice, whether I like it or not. I want the residents there to decide. They want to pay for a golf course and use it. That's their deal. So it does go counter to what you and I believe in. I understood the intent, but franchise fees were one of the unintended consequences.
Yes.
Because when it comes to the levy limits, a franchise fee is not a direct tax. So it was not subject to a levy limit. So you saw cities raising them, you saw them implementing them, because the utility in this case is the tax collector.
Right.
So it's ostensibly done for roads and things like that, but they don't have to put it to that, do they?
No, they don't. In fact, again, we have our legislature to thank for levy limits, and we have our legislature to thank for franchise fees. Under Minnesota Statute 216B.36, it says...
Well, we'll give you a moment to look it up if you're scoring at home.
Thank you.
Yes, Herb Carneal. Throw the Herb Carneal in if you're scoring at home.
It's the old 6-3.
Yeah.
Ground out. Okay. So, Cities can impose a fee on utility companies that use the public right-of-way to deliver service. And so those fees can come as a flat rate per utility account or a percentage of consumption used by each utility account. Sometimes they can mix up depending on who that is, how they do it. They can establish the flat rate or the percentage, and then they identify different classes or types of usage. And that could be residential, commercial, industrial, or based on demand.
Just like property taxes.
Yep, absolutely. And so, yeah, they don't have to say what they're going to use the fees for, how much they're going to collect. All of this is kind of left up to the city as a way, like you said, to get around levy limits.
Well, and they will tell you that, well, it's all for roads. Roads are bad, and we're going to use them for roads. That's, if they campaigned on giving the city manager a raise, they probably would. Everybody would probably get ticked off. Oh, and this church isn't paying anything. We got to make them pay. Or this. Well, my defense to that is, if you're taxing a school, okay. Now I don't know what a school's monthly electric and gas bill are. I'm going to guess they're more than mine.
Yeah, quite a bit.
And that money that we're paying, we're already paying for the school, okay, us taxpayers.
Yes, we are.
So, and that money's supposed to go toward education. It's not supposed to be taxed so the city can take some of that money. So just think of it like this. Think if their electric bill is $2,000 a month. I don't know what it is, but let's just pretend it's $2,000. A percentage of that money is being taken out of the classroom. Or a flat fee. Most of them I've seen have been a flat fee. And it is being taken out of where the money was intended to go. And it's now going to the city. So we are taxing my tax dollars.
Exactly. Same thing with a church. You give money to a church, you expect it to go to pay for the church staff. You expect it to go to repairing the church building. You expect
Field
it
trips,
to go
whatever
to missions, missionaries, all that kind of stuff. In feeding the poor, clothing the poor, all that kind of stuff.
Just think, you're taking money out of the hands of children, all right? Isn't that what we hear sometimes from other people? Isn't that what they're doing here?
Exactly. So when our tithes get taxed, that, again, you're taking money meant for good, and you're just grabbing greedily at it and putting it in the city coffers.
Yeah, it's just... it's bad, and I'll tell you, it's getting worse. If you look at the amount of cities implementing them, especially in the 7-county metro, you're talking about a majority of cities that have franchise fees.
Right.
And here's the thing, too. Because these things aren't noticed, if I upped your property taxes 10%, I bet you'd notice.
Yeah.
Bet you'd pay attention. Boy, I bet that would get a room full of people pissed off.
Absolutely.
But I double the franchise fee. How many people even... You get your bill and you look at the amount. How many people read the whole thing? How many people blame Comcast or XL or CenterPoint? You're jacking up. What did I do? It doesn't occur to them that it's not all within their control.
Right, and especially when you see it's called a franchise fee. Now, sometimes they do call it a franchise tax.
Rarely.
And it's more out in the open that way. But more than likely, it's going to be a franchise fee or something like that. And when it's called something so innocuous, you don't, as a customer, pick up on that and say, oh, that's going to my local government.
Or my local government put it there.
Right. Even
the
worse.
Cable company didn't do it.
No.
It's a cost to them. It's a tax that they pass on to the customer.
Yes.
That's what it is. And the franchise fees are just getting out of control. We've picked on New Hope a lot, but New Hope just recently voted to double their franchise fee. Now, that's they went from I don't remember how much. It went from a couple bucks to a couple bucks. But here's the thing. Once you open up that revenue stream to government, okay, that tax never goes down.
Right.
And it almost never goes away. But think of it like this. We implemented a Minnesota sales tax back in 1967. What's happened to the sales tax since 1967? It's gone through the roof.
Right.
I mean, it's like quadrupled in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
I mean, we're over, I think 6.875 is still statewide, but Hennepin County and the 7-county metro and with the CTIB tax, I mean, we're at 7.25 here in Hennepin County. It's a little less than Anoka, but I mean, that tax goes nowhere but up. That money is spent before they get it. And there is no argument anymore of whether we should have a sales tax or not.
Exactly.
You know, tax is regressive. You know, I mean, it's. I would rather have an excess tax than an income tax, but
yes,
because I'd rather have you have the money first and choose to spend it and get taxed. It's different.
Yes.
But still, I mean, with our high income taxes, we have a very high sales tax. And, you know, it is having I think it has an adverse effect, especially when the government's appetite is just for more and more and more. And the other side of the ledger, the expense side, just never seems to have anything happen to it at all.
Right, and a great case in point. Now, this happened a few years ago, but back in St. Louis Park, the city council unanimously approved.
Look at all that dissent.
Yeah, exactly. Like we've always said, they get it worked out in work sessions. They come to the council meetings, and it's always unanimous. That's the way it is. So they unanimously approved the first votes necessary to raise franchise fees on CenterPoint Energy and Xcel Energy to increase rates for city utilities. This is out of the Sun Sailor here in St. Louis Park. CenterPoint's fees are set to increase from $2.50 per month for a residential customer to $3.25 per month. And then for Xcel, they were going to increase it 75 cents to $3.25 per month for a residential customer.
They're going to jack it up like 5 times as much?
I mean, it's crazy.
No.
Yeah.
Jay, hold on a second. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot of money.
No.
But this is the point that I'm trying to get at. You make something 75 cents, a few years later, it's $2.
Right.
Then it's $5. Then what do you want to bet in 2020? They'll all of a sudden come back, and that's not enough. And they'll want more. Of course, their levy never goes down. What do you want to bet that this is the start of it?
Yeah, and that is the start of it. I mean, the current fees back when this was written in 2014 were $1.62 million annually to the city. That's what the franchise fees brought in. That's not a small chunk of change.
So did they cut spending to account for all that money? Or did that just go in and get spent? Yeah.
No, then that's why they're increasing it, because the increase is going to add, well, it did add then $274,000 in revenue from CenterPoint and $424,000 in revenue from Xcel on top of the $1.62 million they were already collecting. So you're talking another almost $700,000.
So you're talking about $2.4 million in total then.
Yeah. I mean, I think of, obviously, St. Louis Park is about twice the size of Crystal population-wise. But in Crystal, I mean, their annual budget is sitting around 12 to 14 million. And so, I mean, that's
St. Louis Park, that's probably somewhere between 10 and 20%.
Yeah.
Of their budget, operating budget.
Right.
Which you and I, of course, know is separate from everything else. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. And, here's the other thing, too, is you and I talk about transparency all the time.
Yeah.
Having everything in one place.
Yeah.
Not a fee and assessment of money here, money there, this fund, that fund. I mean, some of it's not the city's fault. Some of it is mandated by state law. But, things cannot get more complicated than they are.
No.
To figure out how much of your money actually goes to the city is not an easy question to answer.
No, absolutely. But they always quote the same things, even with like organized garbage hauling. Oh, the trucks are wearing out city streets,
which is
what they say for
which
these
they
too.
cite nothing that backs that up.
No, they just say that, but how many times do you see CenterPoint driving huge trucks down your street? Not very often. After storms,
they drive vans.
They drive. So it's ridiculous to think that that they're having that big of an effect on the shape of city streets. But also, and I'll have to do a quick check to see if Councilmember Sue Sanger is still in office. But she said that the city is not making a profit on its utility rates.
Oh, well, that's good.
Isn't it all profit? Isn't all of this profit? You're charging rent to use.
You're getting $2.4 million of money that you can do whatever you want with.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they said the rates were being adjusted because they have a very aggressive capital improvement plan. So it just means that they're rebuilding a ton of stuff, and they need you to pay for it.
And when that stuff is paid for, is that tax going to go away?
No, of course not. Yeah. They'll find new stuff they want to rebuild. And here they might cite a water main or a sewer main or storm sewers or all of that, and that's great. And this is, the same thing that Brooklyn Park and our favorite mayor was saying up there, that, it's about street reconstruction, but it's really not, because they can direct this anywhere that they want it to go, but they always say, oh, the old stuff wears out, we need to replace it, and this way people aren't getting assessed. Well, whether you assess people or whether you charge franchise fees, they're still paying for it outside of the levy, and it's money that they don't expect to pay that you are collecting. And the thing with an assessment, you pay it, it's done. With a franchise fee, you pay it, and you pay it, and you pay it, and you pay it, and once they're done funding what they wanted to pay for, they find something else that they want to pay for. This is almost worse than getting assessed, because it's A, it's hidden, B, it will go on forever. An assessment, you get hit, surprise, it stinks, but it's done.
Yeah, I'm not sure which is worse. You bring up a good point. They're both terrible. I just go back to why can't we do taxes all in one place?
Yeah.
I mean, I just go back to why can't I have one piece of paper that shows me money in and money out?
Right.
But then it's also a way, I think the bigger thing too, it's a way to get money from places that you would normally not get money from.
Right.
It allows, and I think it's ridiculous that we allow our tax dollars to get taxed. You allow a library to get to. Brooklyn Park just built Hennepin County built it, but a library right by North Hennepin Community College there. Part of your money that's going to pay for that dang thing, which was already $20 million, is going to Brooklyn Park and franchise fees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and that's what they are. I mean, and there are places that are actually honest enough to say, well, this is another revenue stream for us.
Most places don't word it like that, though. No. Most of them are, just calling it a fee itself is disingenuous.
Right. It's a tax.
Yeah, I mean, sorry. It is a tax. I mean, let's be honest with you. Let's be honest here. A license to do anything is a tax. My driver's license is a tax. Okay? Yeah. I mean, it costs me something. I don't know why. I don't know why I have to pay to drive. I'm already paying gas taxes and VAT taxes and license tab fees, and then my license with my ugly picture has to be renewed, and I have to pay for that again. But we call them fees, but the reality is a tax is a tax, period. And, I'll tell you what, odds are you live in a city that has a franchise fee. And let me tell you something. They're not limited to communist countries of Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Oh, no.
They aren't even close. They're in some of the reddest areas in this state.
Plymouth, Minnesota.
Yeah, Big Lake.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere from, Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park, New Hope, Golden Valley, Hopkins, Shakopee, Bloomington, Burnsville, Rogers. They all have them.
Yeah.
So it's not something that that is easy to avoid. I mean, Crystal, we've beat it back. Staff has recommended it several times. And I think if the old council were still there, I think we'd have one.
Yeah?
In Crystal. I really do. I think that they were thinking about it, especially with all the brushback on assessments.
Oh, yeah.
But I think the current council has it right. It's all going to go in one place on the levy. It's not going to be some backdoor thing that you don't notice. Instead of taking it out of your front pocket, we take it out of your shirt pocket or your pocket protector or your glasses with the tape on them. And there's going to be one place that it goes, but I think it would have been implemented by now without a change, especially when you look at Crystal's probably the one city around in that area that doesn't have one. Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center, Robbinsdale, New Hope, Gold Valley, Plymouth, they all have them.
Word, yeah.
And so Crystal's kind of a, lone wolf, while they're a lone wolf on a lot of things, but on this in particular.
Well, and I'm going to take it even a step further, because maybe some of you listen to us out of amusement in Wisconsin or Iowa or Pennsylvania or Guam or wherever.
Australia.
Yeah.
If you do, good day.
Good day. Or maybe good night this time of day. They got it reversed back.
Yeah, that's true. That's not a knife.
All right. Anyways, like in 2 seconds, I'm Googling, is this anywhere else? Oh, of course it is. Why? Because it's probably pushed by the National League of Cities to all the state league of cities, right? I found Iowa. I found Florida. I found California.
Like you and I have said, local government could go to jail. They could be thrown on the electric chair for plagiarism.
Yeah, they could, and these things are all over the country. So it doesn't matter where you're listening to us from. This isn't a Minnesota problem. This is a United States of America municipal government problem.
Yes, and
Texas.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, I would like to not have an income tax, but anyhow, you look at Minnesota. We've talked about 853 cities.
Yeah,
and 357 of them have a franchise fee.
Oh, my word.
300, so not quite half.
Right.
But it's like we're marching to get there is kind of what it feels like. There's like a race to the top, but this is actually a race to the bottom.
It's ridiculous. I mean, do we know there has to be something somewhere, like cities in the metro area. Looks like 101 cities as of 2014 in the 7-county metro area collected them. Yeah, 357 as a whole. I mean, that's 101 out of how many are
189
out of 189. So if you live in the metro area, again, Crystal is an anomaly. Look at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and almost all of them, and then like we said, the Northwest Metro have them.
Yeah,
but it's also it's a problem now in Greater Minnesota too. I mean, just think, 101 in the 7-county metro. That means there's 256 not in the 7-county metro.
Well, 356. I mean, that's almost half of the cities in Minnesota have one. You have as much of a shot as paying them as you don't.
Yeah. Yep. Throw a dart against a map, and chances are 50-50 that you'll hit a city that, or maybe not the way I throw, but
well, that's a big dartboard. I think even you could hit that with 800 cities on it.
Oh God, yeah. Boy, I'd aim for New Hope.
I think that's a different kind of dart you're trying to throw at that point.
Maybe Brooklyn Park.
Oh
too.
Boy. So, what do we see then? I mean, is there any hope? I mean, does anybody do anything about this? You had said that they were there forever. I mean, generally speaking, it's a tax that's just going to pass on.
Once the tax goes in and it's regularly spent, and especially once it's raised, that the odds are 1 in a gazillion that tax is ever going to go away.
I think that's true. I was able to find one. There are a number of cities that have almost. They have repeal in their ordinance. If you ever want to repeal it, And there is one city in Minnesota that I could find, and that's Wabasha. It repealed its city ordinances implementing a gas service franchise fee and electric service franchise fee on April 3rd, 2013. Thank you, guys. That's amazing. Golf clap.
Now, I hope they just didn't throw a 15% increase on the levy.
No, I did find one city like that, and I'm trying to remember which one it was off the top of my head, where they had repealed it, but only to put in a different agreement.
Oh. Well, that's nice of them.
So, like you said, I mean, it doesn't go away.
Well, I mean, I've said before, find me a tax that does. Once government gets their hands on something, they're like little kids.
Right.
They never let it go. And as soon as somebody's paycheck's dependent on it, as soon as, and remember, a lot of governments try to plan things out. They count on that, what they would call revenue, and you and I would call tax money. They count on that being there.
Yeah.
And if it's not there, they just make it happen. Largely. And some of these budgets that have franchise fees, it's not really clear, where it is or where it goes, or, like you said, it doesn't have to have a dedicated purpose.
Right.
And again, if you want to have a franchise fee for these 5 projects, and then the franchise fee goes away, or you present a new list of things, right. I still oppose it because odds are the next place is going to keep the money no matter what. But it'd be nice if we had some sunsetting. Like if you wrote into a city code, right, we're going to implement a franchise fee for 5 years to pay for this project. Yeah. And at the end of 5 years, that's going to be gone.
Well, and
I mean, not what my preference would be, but that would be better than an indefinite.
Well, like bonding. You look at bonding, and at least those sunset. They mature at some point because they get paid back. The problem is with all this interest, and it's extra payments, extra taxes. This at least doesn't have the extra payments, extra taxes, the interest, but it never sunsets. Right. So pick your poison.
Right, but you and I have talked about bonding before. It should be used rarely, right? But it's a tool in the toolbox, right? It's something that sometimes you have to borrow. Mm-hmm. It's not preferable, but think of it in your personal life. Sometimes you have to. Your refrigerator goes kaput. Well, you got to eat. You may not have $2,000 laying around for another one, right? So that's a case where you borrow. If you have the money, especially when it's tax dollars, not yours,
right? Maybe what they need to do is make a new card for the Would You Rather game. And would you rather pay $50 a month for the next 10 years, or would you rather pay $2.50 indefinitely?
I don't like either choice, to be honest.
Yeah.
How about cut spending? How about that? That would be my preference.
That would be a great option. Yeah. But you're not going to find that in government Would You Rather. It's would you rather pay this or would you rather pay this?
Rather get shot or hanged. I'll tell you what, though. It again highlights something that we keep talking about. We keep talking about the importance of electing good people to local government. Yes. That it's not enough just to win the state and the House. Again, however you want to frame it. Not enough to elect people you like to higher offices. Right. They also have to be local as well. And let me tell you something. The wrong way to fix this is to pass a law in St. Paul. That's the wrong thing to do.
Well, I think they need to repeal the
They could do that.
Law.
They could do that. Yeah. I mean, they did create this problem. Yes. But I'll give you an example. The $15 minimum wage is an example. Well, there's a bill right now in the legislature to take that power away from local government, that they can't pass sick leave. Right. They can't. And I'm sorry, but while I agree with the issue, I agree that I don't think there should be a minimum wage. It's just me. I think it upsets the market. I think it actually causes unemployment, especially seasonal and cyclical unemployment, because go leave a 15% tip to a waiter making $20 an hour. Right. It probably costs them money. So while I don't agree with that, it does worry me that 40 different cities can have 40 different minimum wages.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think the wrong way to fix it is to pass a law from the top down. I think the right way to do it, because look, if that's your feeling, then you have no credibility to ever argue about local control.
Right.
You know, if every time a local government does something you don't like, your solution to it is to pass a law with the government above them, your credibility on local control is shot.
Right.
The right way to do it is to get good people in office who aren't going to implement this and are going to repeal it. And I know, look, that takes time, it takes education, but it's just part of why I've always felt that both the major political parties argue for local control when it suits them.
Yeah.
You know, they argue for local control when they're the minority.
Mm-hmm.
When they're in the majority, it's put on what you want.
Right.
So it's hard to make that argument. And there is an argument to be made that, you know, I'm using minimum wage as an example. We could use any issue. They set a minimum wage. You know, the federal government has a minimum wage. There's no maximum.
Oh, no.
You know, there's no you have to have a minimum wage. It can only be this, and you can't have it 1 cent above that. So states have decided to go in a different, if they choose, to go in a different direction. And again, I just feel like, you know, I don't want to hear that you favor local control, but you put in levy limits, you vote for things like that, and then, you know, complain when you're not in charge that you want local control.
Yeah, it just seems like a way to limit the opposing party. It doesn't work that way.
It's just a way to stop ideas you disagree with.
Yeah. Either you have this principle or you don't have this principle. It's that simple. And we talked about it's important to elect good people, and you start at the local level so that when people want to run for state office, they've got a background that they can run on. They have some experience where you can say, oh yeah, this person voted for this or that, or stop this or stop that, you know. And this is why you don't find franchise fees in Crystal. It's why you don't find them in Oak Grove, you know, places like that where we know, like with Mayor Mark Coram, that you know, he's really strong on this kind of stuff. The way he's been fighting the Met Council, no franchise fees, all of that. You know that if somebody off of that city council was going to step up into a higher public office, that they would do a good job for the people of their community and of the state or the whatever they're running for, because they have a track record.
Yeah, and ultimately they did what they said they were going to do.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately, you know, that's the mark of somebody. And look, there's a time for compromise, and there's issues you just can't compromise on.
Right.
There's, you know, we have a constitution for a reason. We have, and it should be respected by everybody, not interpreted to suit your politics. Yes, and I'm talking to lawyers who wear robes.
Yes.
You know, but yeah, I mean, a franchise fee, it's coming to a community near you. Let's just be honest with it. I'm going to tell you something. If you don't have one, I guarantee you your council's debated it. I guarantee you at some point city staff has recommended it, or recommended that you talk about it, however you want to put it.
Right.
And they've considered it. So,
absolutely.
You know, and if they implement a franchise fee, nothing else is going to go down. They're going to take that money and add it to whatever the hell else they're doing, period.
Well, and when is enough enough?
It's never enough.
It's never enough.
It's the honest truth. It's never enough.
David Lee Roth once sang, "A little ain't never enough."
Is that how it went?
Something like that. I'm paraphrasing, I think. But yeah, what do you do? I mean, this is where it comes down to what we have always talked about. You know, we need people in every city, every township, every school district, good people who have principles, to get involved in the process. And you start that by getting on planning commissions, by getting on curriculum commissions, by getting involved at a volunteer level, and then finding out if it's for you. Or maybe you want to run, so you go and you get some experience. That's how you have an impact. For someone that would be interested, say, from a franchise fee standpoint, is there a commission that would speak into that at all? Because a lot of the stuff does come down from staff to the city council. What is decided by the city council with or without a commission when it comes to a recommendation?
I'm pretty sure a franchise fee does not go through a commission process.
Okay.
The cable one might. I know that the North Hennepin or the Northwest Community TV.
Yeah, they have a commission.
They have a commission. Your council, Julie, she used to be on it.
Yeah.
I don't know if she still is. They meet once a month. I'm not sure, though, that the fee is necessarily their primary thing that they talk about. But the Northwest Community Television does have a commission. But I don't think implementing a franchise fee on a utility is something that would go through a planning commission or
that comes through the Public Works Department, possibly, or
they'd probably send it off to finance, who would figure out the budgetary part. But they would probably get. Here's my guess: before they come to a city council meeting with it, the Public Works guy, the city manager, the city planner, and the finance director would probably all get together and agree on a proposal. Then they'd all be speaking with one voice. And they would present doomsday options to the council, if you will.
Right.
This is how I've seen it. This is part of what happened in Brooklyn Park, was that they sort of offered the city council three horrible scenarios, and here's worser, and worsest. And I think that's probably how it would happen. Kind of like how to pay for a building. You'd get an all cash option, an all bonding option, and a mixture.
Okay.
And they would all kind of present that at once.
Yeah.
So they would come up with, okay, here's what happens if we assess. Here's what happens if we do franchise fees. Here's what happens if we pull it out of the budget. Here's what happens if we mix them all.
Okay.
And that's probably how that would get presented to a council. And maybe I'm taking that a bit too far, but I'm guessing that the finance people would have to be involved. Certainly Public Works would be, because the utilities, they do all the billing and all the dirty work.
Right.
When it comes to that, city manager would have to be involved. Technically, that person is in charge of the people who are in those departments. And I'm sure, a person in community development would be on there too, because they're going to speak about what's going to happen over the next 10 years or 5 years. More accurately probably than anybody else. Here's what we have planned. Here's what we could do. Here's what we might do. Here's what we can do if we have X or Y. And that's probably how it would be presented.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot. And I think this is what happens with councils. They get bombarded from everybody kind of all on board. We talk about how cities go to a meeting after a work session because they've already done they've already baked the cake, if you will.
Right.
Well, city staff probably does the same thing. I'd like to be a fly on the wall when those four all get together and present their options to the council.
Well, and we all
cutting spending won't be one of them.
Right. And we all know, that especially with these types of fees, this is done because of the state aid that's been lost. In fact, I found a Star Tribune article that quotes that, where Edina officials even state that, because we're getting less money from the state government, that's why we need to implement and or raise these fees.
I'm sorry, what about Edina is poor?
Well,
why were they getting a check in the... Anybody think of that? Why were you getting a check in the first place?
Yeah.
And local government aid is pure socialism. It's take your money, throw it in a pot, and a bunch of bureaucrats are going to resend it out. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what they do in communist countries.
But, I mean, again, these orders are coming from above, or at least the excuse to do it. It's told, this is good government. You go and you find money. Again, Minnesota League of Cities, they have a sample ordinance out there drafted from one out in Victoria on how to do this. National League of Cities actually has a page talking about how to get revenue from other sources, in which they include franchise fees. So it's not just, the National League of Cities, down to the Minnesota League of Cities, down to the cities themselves. And again, we talked about what almost every city in Minnesota is in the Minnesota League of Cities. Mm-hmm. So, of course, they're getting the information from the Minnesota League of Cities.
Certainly city staff is.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
And chances are you got a city staff member on some board. And that's also where the grant money comes. It comes from, okay, here's how you get it. Here's how you word it. Here's a sample of what to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all laying there in their little toolkits.
Yeah. Oh. It's just crazy to see this circle. It's just National League of Cities, Minnesota League of Cities, cities, National League of Cities, Minnesota League of Cities, cities.
Association of Metropolitan Municipalities, Association of Minnesota Counties, Minnesota School Boards Association.
But all of this stuff is
you think
driven
they don't get
from
stuff
these
from
groups.
the Department of Education?
Oh, of course they do.
Yeah.
Of course they do.
Both Minnesota and nationally.
Here's how you get the free money. Here's how you get the grants. Here's how...
More Title I money, more free and reduced lunch. Here's, you create this program and, these consultants will come in and do this. It won't cost you nothing. Yeah. Of course, it costs somebody something.
It does.
Nothing's free. But again, that's an attitude not there. I mean, local government aid is seen as an entitlement. That's seen as no different than welfare.
Right.
By some of these cities. And it is really screwy, I don't know how Edina gets LGA. LGA comes in different forms. Mm-hmm. There's street aid, there's para reimbursement, there's things like that. But, the big one, which if you read a budget, it'll say intergovernmental revenue. It's not exactly clear, but some cities like Champlin is a net loser in that. And some cities like Crystal are a net gain. Now, Crystal's not getting the money they used to.
Right.
But the old council largely just took what they weren't getting and threw it on the levy.
Right.
And there was no rhyme or reason to it. It was just, okay, we're getting 150 grand less. Let's raise taxes by 150 grand. That was pretty much the debate 10 years ago. So it's not the debate right now, but I mean, that's largely what happened. Golden Valley is a net loser. New Hope's a net winner in local government aid. So it's how that's figured out is really needs some change too. And I think we need to have some accountability for this money. It kind of bothers me that this money's thrown in a general fund, and a city like New Hope has a golf course and a hockey arena, and they're sitting there talking about how they don't have money. It's like, well, wait a minute. You're getting free money from here. You're getting franchise fees, but instead of, paying for your roads, which look like garbage, you're operating a golf course. Yeah. You'd think that would trigger somebody there to start thinking.
Yeah. A golf course that's held in the private sector makes money.
Yeah, of course. The public ones don't have to.
No, they don't have to.
They could just bleed.
And you see it time and time again, whether it's a liquor store, whether it's a golf course, whether it's a pool, whether it's concessions.
Yeah,
they lose money. Yeah. How do you do business?
I don't know. You don't have to. Nobody's held accountable for it. If they don't make money, who cares? We've got an ATM card called the taxpayers.
Maybe we need to file this in the back of our brains for a future episode, but if you work at a municipal liquor store, if you work at a municipal golf course full-time, are you getting the same benefits that city staff get because you're technically a government employee?
Yeah, probably.
We need to file that back there because that's going to add up cost fast.
I would imagine that they do.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think they're non-union employees, but from what I've seen, the union negotiations tend to be similar to everybody else. If I'll give you an example, take the school district. The teachers union gets X. SEIU usually gets it. Bus drivers usually get it. AFSCME usually gets it. My guess is for a non-union employee, they get something pretty close. And again, they may have seasonal employment. They may have something. They may not have the people making $100,000. I think golf courses is technically under the Park and Recs department.
Right.
But I'm sure you have somebody.
You got somebody
in charge of it.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, you'd have to. You got leagues going on.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody has to be running.
So sorry for that aside, but that may be a future episode.
I'm sure it's very, very. It may not be exact, but I bet it's 90%.
Yeah, because we all know that that's what eats up city budgets.
Yeah.
The more employees they have because of benefits.
The operating side, yes. And in government, the average benefit cost is probably 30 to 40%, and there's no way it's that in the free market.
Right.
Even with unemployment taxes, it's still not that high. Basically, because in the free market, you're basically matching FICA. You're paying part of health care. You're paying an unemployment tax, and you're probably matching some sort of 401k for full-time employees. Part-time employees, you're probably not.
No.
Of course, government employees, para, I think that hits part-time employees too. I think they have an option.
Wow.
Because I know city council members do.
Yeah.
So they can join para, they don't have to.
Wow.
And that's subsidized by the state of Minnesota, about 20%. So you're getting, so my guess is that, my guess is if you're a part-time worker at a golf course, you're not getting health insurance.
Right.
My guess is you're getting everything else.
But I bet the manager is.
I'm sure, without a doubt. And I'm sure it's the Cadillac plan. With no question about it. That person probably has their job for life.
Yeah.
Of course, in the real world, we don't.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm sure it's very close.
Wow. Well, we'll have to look into that for y'all. Thanks for following down that rabbit hole.
You might not like the result. You might not like that show either.
It's strange. We keep bringing all this bad news, and people keep listening to us. But it's good for you to know. I'm sorry.
It's good drama here. It's good drama.
Yeah. And I bring that up. I mean, we need people all over the state to step up. And I know I already mentioned get into these commissions, but think about running for office. We need people with principles who are willing to stand up, that are against raising taxes, are about being responsible fiscally, that are willing to deregulate where it doesn't make sense. And where are they? Well, I know you're out there. Well,
and here's an alternative. If you don't want to run for office, you do what we do.
Yeah.
Because you need them too. You know, I've gone out on a limb, and I've tooted our horn that Crystal wouldn't look like it did without you and I doing what we do.
Right.
People might have run for office and won, but it took the team to do it. It took the two jerks of you and me to be out there, you know, with the bullhorn. Yeah. It took some other people behind the scenes doing volunteer work and things like that.
Yeah.
And it took the right people to run with the right message to do the right things. So, you know, and it took people, we still have people we know serving on commissions and things like that. You know, here's the thing. If you're interested, there's a role for you somehow. You know what I mean? There is something you can be doing. There's some people who are great at writing letters to the editor. Maybe they don't want to run for office. There's some people who are good at doing what we do who don't want to run for office but want to help somebody.
Right.
There's people who are good looking and articulate who would make a great, you know who you are. You know a good candidate when you see one, who have that passion. And some people don't like to knock on doors and do things like that. Some people love it. And there's a spot for you somewhere.
Absolutely.
That's I think, the message that somebody's got to take. You don't like franchise fees? Instead of sitting there yelling at your bill, Okay, which is easy to do. It's easy to sit there and be negative. It's easy to scream at the TV.
It's easy to call up Xcel Energy and ask the guy or gal that you barely can understand what they're saying.
Right.
They probably don't know what a franchise fee is because they don't live here. You know, it's
yeah.
What?
Call up India. What's a franchise fee? So I mean, yeah. I mean, that's very true. And ultimately, it's not the company who's implementing them. So, you know, they're just the tax collector. They're the bad guy. They're the people the city make the bad guy.
Right.
You know, up their bill and get everybody mad at Comcast.
Right. Oh, that's crazy. So I don't know if you have anything else on franchise fees. I think maybe we've taken that as far as we can for now. But
glad I don't have anything else on it.
Oh, my word. So, yeah. Get involved, please. And if you want to do what we do, if you want to run for office, if you want to get on a commission, let us know. Email us. If you have things in your city that you would like us to look into and talk about on our podcast or whatever, email us. Let us know. You can get a hold of us at commsolutionsmn.com. That's our website where we've got all this great information we've compiled over many, many years. And we talk about how we can help get involved in your community on that website as well. Contact us directly through email at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. And we would love to touch base with you, get in contact with you. Don't be shy. I know that there are things going on all over the state of Minnesota, and I know after we have put out as many podcasts and articles and things as we have, that you guys are starting to see some of this in your own communities. So please reach out to us, and we can get on our bullhorn, but more importantly, we can help you get on yours. So thank you. We couldn't do this without you. I mean, we could, but why would we if nobody was listening? So thank you for listening. Thank you for being involved. Thank you for being a watchful eye. And I know I really appreciate each of you that takes what we say to heart and then goes out there and tries to make positive change. And we've seen it. And we know it's possible. And we know that what we do works. So any parting words, Andrew?
No, I think those are good parting words. I can't top that.
All right. Well, keep out of the floods because it's raining like crazy out there. And just stay the course. Take this time when the weather is terrible to do some research and look up what's going on in your city. That's even better. Thank you, and we'll talk to you next time.